Under the full moon, a curved blade cuts through the night air, leaving a bloody streak across the rooftops. This weapon belongs to a lone warrior who carves a path of destruction in a pink glow. His fierce attack mows down another opponent who falls under the powerful strike of the blade. The warrior stands with blood on his face, tired but with grim determination. Around him are fallen bodies, and a voice mocks that he uses techniques not of his own clan. Says Spirit Dawn, leader of the cult of blood demons, and with a cold smile says that the family technique has passed to some spoiled brat. The former leader Sun Wujing looked down and bitterly called the warrior a monster for slaughtering his own family. Dag Dang gestures toward a girl in the distance and asks what he intends to do with this child. Despair flashed across the warrior's face, and this seems to please the cult leader. She mercilessly orders San Wujin, the last head of his family, to also kill the young girl. The girl Sanmu Yanhua tightly grips her sword, with both fear and defiance on her face. At that moment, ghostly figures of San Wujin's fallen comrades appear behind him. He lowers his head in sorrow and apologizes to his captain, because he feels like he will never be like him. A ghostly hand calms him, and the captain's spirit gently asks if he is coward again. The spirit whispers to him that he has already done all he could, and that the consequences are not on his shoulders. He remembers the captain's words, never give up, and decides to do everything in his power until the very end. And he understands if they catch him, he will turn into Dogdang's puppet and become a threat to his captain. With new determination, he decides better to die by his own will than to end up in captivity. The cult leader stands in shock and outrage, demanding to know what he is going to do. He declared that she will never be able to use his body and swears to kill her, even if he becomes a ghost. Without hesitation, he plunges the blade into his chest, while the cult leader screams in fury. His vision blurs, and the world around melts like a distant, blurred memory. As he falls, he is overwhelmed with regret he ran away from problems instead of truly living. His spirit floats in a purple abyss, and he hears an angry voice calling his name. Suddenly, the old man with a fierce grimace demands to know if Jin has anything to say. He finds himself on his knees on the floor, much younger, with his hands tied and completely bewildered. The young man stands in a huge hall. The old man judges him, while others silently watch from the side. Suddenly he recognizes the man. It is his father, San Wujing, whom he has not seen for 10 years. The youth raises his eyes with a confused expression and quietly addresses the man, calling him father. He closes his eyes for a moment, trying to comprehend this perplexing situation. He looks down at his tied hands, and the feeling of disorientation tightens around him more and more. The father accuses him. Silence is like a confession to the murder of his brother-in-law. The youth is stunned. Did he really kill the man named Den Hasang? Suddenly a memory appears of him happily drinking with a friend, and immediately the thought arises that Den died more than 10 years ago. Suddenly he remembers standing over the body of his friend, but is sure he had neither motive nor opportunity to do it. He realizes that he has returned to the past, to the moment when he was framed for the murder of his friend. Returning at this moment, he finds himself on his knees before his father and can only whisper, "I don't remember." The head of the family exploded with anger, shouting that such an answer was completely unacceptable. 3 of his brothers with sly smiles watch as the father hesitates to kill him to appease the Dan family. One of his brothers suggests maiming him and sending him alive. Let them sort it out. The youngest brother suddenly proposes sending Jin to the front line, saying the alliance asked for someone from the family. He insists if life is doomed to die, then it is better that it serves in some way, and their father quietly considers this idea. The other brothers smiled. They realized that this plan would also free them from having to go themselves. The front line is the boundary where the Combat Alliance fought the Bloody Demon cult during the Great Bloody War. Although the Alliance stopped the cult's invasion, they failed to reclaim the captured lands, so they set up a watchpost. Jin understands that this is the perfect excuse for his brothers to get rid of him, hiding behind a false accusation. He remained on his knees, convinced that one of his brothers or sisters must have organized the entire conspiracy against him. Later that night he sits alone in the cell, feeling that his father made the same decision as in his previous life. Feeling the approach of footsteps, he clenched his fists and steeled his resolve. This time he must obtain what he needs. A young woman, Sanmu Yanhua, appears under his camera. Worry is visible on her face, and she asks if he is okay. Jin reassures her that he is fine, asks about her, and she replies that she believes in his innocence. But he clearly remembers that in the previous life she only cried. So this time he confidently says that he is not guilty. The girl is clearly stunned. His unexpectedly firm and clear assurance of innocence struck her. She asks why he is so confident, and he calmly says that he had no reason to harm his only friend and her fiancé. He admits they stood face to face exactly when a sword was found in his friend's back, which he did not have. After that, Yan will ask why he was silent and did not defend himself before their father. Jin simply replies that for him the better choice was to go to the front line, and this only confuses her even more. Suddenly a childhood memory flashed in his mind how after his mother's death he had to survive on his own. His incredible memory made him a true prodigy, but among jealous brothers he had to play the fool to survive. But this turned into a self-destructive habit, and when he finally realized it, he had already truly become a laughingstock for everyone. Throughout the 21st year, he was considered a worthless fool, the shame of the family, constantly mocked. To change his fate, he will have to leave the family and meet his hero on the front lines, Gale, the flying dragon of Silipong. But he notices that Yayun's attitude has changed. She no longer comforts him as before. He looks at her and thinks maybe his calm this time caused a different reaction in her. At that moment he feels another presence and thoughtfully murmuring, turns around. Suddenly he holds his breath and realizes who was silently watching him from the shadows. His father, San Wuzhang, stands near the camera, and nothing can be read from his face. Jin notices with surprise that his father's presence also feels different than he remembers. In his past life, his father would just sigh and walk away upon seeing him begging to be let go. But this time, the head of the family did not back down and directly asked his son was he really framed for the murder. The boy suddenly realizes that his father probably eavesdropped on his conversation with Yanva. The old man admits that he always knew Jin deliberately pretended to be a fool, but did not know that he actually wanted to leave. He apologizes to his son, taking the blame for allowing his life to turn into such a mess. Jin froze at this unexpected apology, for previously, his father had always neglected him. He recalls how even his father, the head of the family, was under strong influence from relatives on his wife's side. He suddenly realizes that his father's indifference might have been a quiet, hidden way to protect him. Then San Wuchun asks his son, does he have any last requests before he is sent away? Seizing the opportunity, Jin asks for permission to enter the head's personal library for at least one day. His father raised his eyebrows in confusion and asked, why does he want to go to the library now? Jin admits he is ashamed not to know his family's martial art, and he wants to study it before leaving. He recalls that in his previous life he knew nothing about his family's art, and had to steal techniques from others. If he can learn the Sound Wu 13 swords, he knows this time he will progress much faster. His father laughs at the idea that one can master martial arts in a single day by only reading books. Though doubtful, the head of the family closed his eyes and agreed to fulfill the request. The boy is delighted but freezes when his father adds a condition to the deal. The old man warns learning cultivation alone is dangerous, so he will teach him personally. Although surprised, Jin instantly agreed and quickly sat in the lotus position as he was asked. His father placed his palms on the chamber door and resolutely said he would pass on the ancient boundless techniques. He pours shining energy into Jin's back and simultaneously utters a spell for Jin to remember. The youth is stunned. He realizes he is being taught a secret art that only the head and hair can learn. He has a strange feeling as if he should be happy, but something is slightly off. While the father continues to transmit energy, Jin struggles to comprehend this unfamiliar sensation. A moment of silence passes as he processes the unexpected turn of events. Meanwhile, the brothers raise a commotion, firmly stating that the parents must not let Jin into the library. San Wuzhong calmly replies that it would be a disgrace to the family if Jin died without learning anything. He firmly declares that his decision is final. The other sons freeze in stunned silence. Later, Jin stood alone in the vast library, sincerely grateful that his request was granted even for one day. He clasped his hands together with a smile, and behind him appeared a mysterious ghostly figure. The figure asks if one day is really enough, and the young man confidently replies that it is more than sufficient. He does not seek to learn the art. In one day he wants to engrave every detail into his memory with his flawless memory. Once his photographic memory was considered a sign of a wunderkind, it allowed him to survive by copying his comrades. Captain Sol Pun even gave his special ability a name. He called it the scene memory technique. Now, sitting in the library, he is confident he will absorb all the information and use it to his advantage. He begins to study the ancient boundless arts and the highest technique of his kind, the 13 swords. Having filled his head with countless books, he lay down on the floor completely exhausted from the effort. He admits to himself that he does not understand those 13 swords at all, so he decides to go out for some fresh air. With a head that can no longer endure, the young man goes outside. He urgently needs a break from the exhausting study. He collapses on the grass nearby, pondering whether to give up everything for today. Lying on the ground, he sighed deeply. Mental fatigue was pressing on him. He admits most of what he read was incomprehensible to him, and this makes him doubt whether it was worth trying at all. Suddenly the air was cut by a familiar mocking voice. What kind of martial art can he even learn? His brothers walk by, accompanied by several young women, and mockingly tease his supposed laziness. Among them are two unfamiliar women, one of whom looks at him with quiet, almost inquisitive curiosity. The group stops and looks at him from afar, and one of the women asks who he is. The brother, with a smug smile, presents him as the shame of the family, the younger brother, brazenly saying that he is more pig than man. The young lady was stunned to learn that he was being sent to the front line the very next day. One brother quickly stepped forward, begging the young lady judge not to pay attention to him. They mercilessly humiliate him in front of the guests, saying that he is just a pit who is going to pay for his crimes. He immediately recognizes this name, and understands she is the famous brilliant swordswoman Yuga Soil. He recalled hearing that she travels from one family to another to gain experience, so now it is clear why she is here. He rises from the ground as his youngest brother Ji approaches him with a smirk. A brother or sister with a smirk asks how the training went, and challenges him to show his new skills. Jin tries to brush it off, saying one day of training won't change anything, so he better hurry back. Annoyed by the refusal, the brother suddenly strikes him to humiliate him. To everyone's surprise, Jin easily catches the fist. A faint purple aura flickers around his hand. The attacker froze speechless, stunned that his strike was so easily blocked. Jin Vens realized how weak his current body was. Even a simple block of a strike causes him pain. Other brothers and sisters burst out laughing, teasing Ji that he was stopped by a pig, mocking his slow strike. Humiliated and enraged, Ji rushed forward and launched an even more serious and rapid attack. He delivers Jin a series of lightning-fast strikes, and Jin seems to just take them without defending. The boy grimaced from the barrage of blows, swallowing the pain as he was thrown backward. But, watching the movements, he suddenly feels the attack style is strangely familiar. Suddenly he was struck. He recognized the scheme in his brother's techniques. He is confident this is the unique fighting style of the Sanvo family in action. Jai continues his relentless attack, unaware that he is performing the Squall 13 strikes. A broad, delighted smile blooms on Jin's face. Realizing the opportunity, he exclaims that this is good. The attacker freezes, confused by his brother's strange and joyful reaction. Jin sharply retreats, says he was wrong, then teases his brother faster. Attack harder. The spectators laugh and tease Ji, saying that his attacks are probably pleasant to the one they hit. Consumed by pure rage, Jin shouts and charges forward again, while Jin laughs, ready to continue. When it was shown to him visually, finally everything fell into place. He couldn't grasp it from the instructions. He recognizes the technique Gale Breaking Wave. It strikes with fists and targets weak spots. But he sees that his brother makes the moves incorrectly, and a clear breach opens in his defense. With an explosion of light pink energy, Jin hits his brother's chest, perfectly striking the exposed weak point. Jai stumbles backward, coughing up blood from the unexpected and powerful counterattack. Jin takes a deep breath and sharply jumps back to create distance. His body recoiled after the brief clash. The eldest brother dismissively waved off, attributing the victory to mere luck, and challenged Jin show them the technique once more. Then the young man realized he was too exhausted to continue, and could not risk showing what his body was capable of now. The brilliant Juj Seoyol raised her voice and declared that the brother's behavior was pure disappointment. Confused, the elder brother hurriedly tries to justify himself, saying he was just about to visit the wounded brother. While the brothers help the fallen Ji, Jin thinks with disgust how pathetic to be the one they defeated for so long. With wounded pride, they lift their injured brother and walk away, defeated. As soon as they left, Jin collapsed to the ground with relief, knowing he needed to train harder. Then, lying on the grass, he closes his eyes, completely drained after the fight and a tense day of training. He shudders when he opens his eyes and sees his father standing over him, looking down with a neutral expression. Then the young man hurriedly gets up and, stumbling over his words, tries to explain his supposedly lazy behavior. But the father simply tells him that he worked well and managed, giving a rare, gentle smile of approval. Jin was left speechless, touched by the unexpected words of praise from his usually distant father. The head of the family reveals the truth of 4 marriages. Only one was his own choice. He admits that he once sincerely believed everything he did was for the family, but now he has doubts. He anxiously asks if his son has read the manual for Soundwolf 13 swords, and Jin briefly confirms that he has. Then the head of the family said he would go practice with the sword, and told his son to rest a bit before coming back inside. He draws the sword, his face serious and focused. He is preparing to demonstrate the forms. With quick and powerful movements, he elegantly performs the legendary sword techniques of the family. Jin stands, watching in admiration. He recognizes that smooth and deadly dance that sounds like Wu 13 swords. The head of the family repeats the forms again and again from the 1st to the 13th, each time faster. With a burst of shining energy, he performs the techniques with incredible strength and precision. The boy suddenly felt a surge of gratitude. realizing that his father was personally showing the forms just for him. Turning back to the library, he sits among piles of books and can now cross-check and refer to manuals with fresh memory. He flips through the ancestors' diaries. There are valuable hints, but the art still remains incomprehensible to him. He stacks the books and admits that even the basic forms are hard to fully grasp. When he picks up another book, a strange detail on the cover stops him. He freezes and listens to look more closely. Suddenly he notices that one side of the book cover is noticeably thicker than the other. Carefully opening the thick cover, suspecting that something might be hidden inside. And indeed, as expected, he finds a hidden folded piece of parchment inside the book's binding. He unfolds the hidden sheet and discovers inside explanations of additional forms. As he studies the document closely, detailed illustrations of the 14th form appear before him. Turning the sheet over, he froze on the back. There were also instructions for the 15th form. He looks at the hidden techniques, and understanding slowly lights up on his face. Later that night, the family estate sank into silence, and soft lights glowed from inside the houses. In her room, Manhwa sits at the dressing table, quietly fixing her hair and intently looking at her reflection. She sighs softly, and her thoughts slowly return to the events that unfolded earlier that day. Her thoughts instantly turn to the visiting brilliant Judge Seol and the crazy commotion she caused among her brothers. She recalls how her own relatives showered compliments and fawned over that famous guest from Heavenly Gift Sword Peak. Returning to the present, she desperately runs her hands through her hair, wishing to be at least a little stronger. Her maids enter, gossiping about how the third youngest master beat the fourth master and wounded him. He wanted to show off Lady Jude with one of the servants, and she suddenly fainted right before her eyes. The maids burst into laughter at the humiliating story, but a sudden movement instantly silenced them. Yanhwa stands up, her eyes burning with a threatening red light, and she asks them to repeat what they just said. Frightened by her sudden change in behavior, the maids nervously confirm that the story is true. She is stunned and furious. She cannot believe that Jin dared to harm their brother. Meanwhile, Judge Soil receives from her companion a document containing information about Soundwoo Jin. The brilliant swordswoman sincerely thanks her friend and promises to return the money she spent on purchasing information. Her companion is surprised and asks why she is so interested in that stout young gentleman, and the judge admits that his physique shocked her. The blue-haired girl agrees, noting that his eyes are just narrow slits hidden in chubby cheeks, and he tightly squeezes a plush teddy bear. The plush teddy bear in her hands seems to release a light breath as if imitating a giggle. Huge jokingly hints that her friend is interested in Jin, only because he resembles that favorite doll she always carries with her. But her companion calmly explained that trick is quite ordinary, and it sparked her curiosity about his past. The genius acknowledges her friend's insight, but cannot understand why she worries about a person of such physical weakness. She reflects with a bitter smile, if even their own master could not understand her friend's curiosity, then she has no chance to solve it. The brilliant swordswoman admires with wonder that her companion can read when her hair covers her eyes. The light blue-haired girl simply says seeing the letters, she can read them. Huge thoughtfully looks at her friend's unusual hairstyle and hesitates whether to suggest changing it. And her companion teases, saying she might even be jealous if Jude received even more attention than he has now. Juge laughs and says that she is glad to have a friend who does not seek attention. The girl replied that she feels the same and appreciates that Yuga is not like a typical member of her famous family. The next morning, Jin prepares to go to the front line. His father and sister stand nearby to see him off. The head of the family, squeezing his son's hand, said, "Take care of your health and bring honor to our name while you are away." Jin respectfully bows and promises that he will definitely honor this family and return to see them again. He turned to thank his sister who came out so early, but she only smiled and said that for such a long journey it was quite natural. Then Yanhwa hands him a neatly wrapped package. "Take it for the road." "All right." He grabs the bundle and asks what is inside, and she explains that she prepared rice balls for him to eat. He, with hope in his voice, asks if she made them herself. She smiles and says yes, but honestly admits that she cannot guarantee the taste. The young man smiles warmly, thanks her, and says that he will gladly enjoy them, calling her the only one he has. Having said the last farewell, he jumps into the saddle ready to head to the front line. His father and sister silently watch as he rides out of the ancestral estate with his escort. And a little later, the group makes their way along a narrow path through the dense forest, heading towards their goal. Suddenly, Jin sharply pulls the reins. The horse abruptly stops, stunning the guards behind. One of the men asks about the sudden stop, but Jin simply says it's not time to rest yet. He watches the group leader Janggan Song and notices that he looks worried, as if afraid that he might cause trouble. The young man calmly informs the stunned escorts that he intends to run the rest of the way to Yunnan. He clarifies he is doing this not only for training, but also to lose weight. The guards do not believe him. They remind him of the long distance and his current physical condition. The leader sighs, understanding his determination, but worries about the losses they will have to bear because of the contract. Seeing their hesitation, Jen asks the leader what he thinks about the horse given to him for the journey. The man agrees the horse is indeed wonderful, but he does not understand what the young man is implying. Jin then suggests giving the valuable horse to the escorts. The leader froze for a moment and could not utter a single word. The other guards immediately began whispering. They realized that such a horse costs a considerable amount of money. He expected that they would try to take advantage, but their greed is still somewhat disappointing. The leader, however, sighs and decides to be honest with the young lord. He explains that for a horse of such quality, such an amount is too large for them to agree to accept it simply as payment. Impressed by this unexpected sincerity, Jin apologizes for mistakenly judging the warrior and sincerely praises his character. But he awkwardly brushed off the compliment, admitting that he fully understands how valuable this horse is. He adds that he himself is afraid if he took such a wonderful animal, his determination might weaken. Jin gently suggests let us consider this a mutually beneficial exchange in return for the horse. He will ask for a few conveniences. The leader looked at the young lord with new respect. He realized that he was not at all the person the rumors had painted him to be. He agrees to the terms, shakes Jin's hand, and promises that they will do everything to accommodate him. And so began his long run, a journey that would take 3 days on horseback, but much longer on foot. He knows that this exhausting work will be very hard, but he is confident it will become the food for his rebirth. With stone-like determination, he swears this time in life he will become different no matter what it takes. The journey very quickly turned out to be too hard for his unprepared body. From exhaustion, he felt sick. His guards rushed to him, fearing that he was trying to find an excuse to avoid going to the front line. But he waved off their worries, wiped his mouth, and declared that he had rested enough and was ready to set off. Soon he was lying on the ground, stretched out on his back, completely exhausted, while the escorts stood and watched. The men standing by the horses could not believe their eyes. Running was so difficult for him. He did not last even 30 minutes, and now it seemed to him that it was too late to move even a finger. He felt a handkerchief gently wiping the sweat from his face, and shyly raised his eyes. A young woman with blue hair offers him a handkerchief and says, "Wipe the sweat." He shuddered upon seeing her, recognized young Miss Chi-Yan, Ian, and blushed with shame because of his condition. The girl froze in surprise. How does he know her name? He quietly explained that his memory reminded him of it since yesterday. She tells him to keep the handkerchief. She has several more, and places it in his hand. Holding the cloth near his face, he stands confused, and does not know how to respond to her unexpected kindness. She smiled slightly and said a few encouraging words, promising that she would root for him. The young woman turned around and left, leaving him among the companions who moved on. The guards were impressed and envious. He received a handkerchief from such a sweet girl. He feels a surge of pride, although he suspects that her kindness had no romantic meaning at all. Feeling a boost of strength from the encouragement, he jumped to his feet and urged the men to continue running. But his renewed enthusiasm does not last long. Soon he collapses again and falls ill once more. Seeing his condition, the men decided that it was time to stop and have a little snack before moving on. His mouth watered at the thought of food, and he realized that on this trip he would often have to eat outdoors. Later that evening, the group in the forest lights a campfire and prepares the night meal. Jin approached the men and asked if they would give him some of their food. The leader agrees but asks with curiosity, why does he not eat the dish his sister prepared for him? Laughing contemptuously, he said directly that his sister's dishes were impossible to eat. The men burst out laughing, agreeing that it would be unfair if a beautiful young lady from a respectable family also knew how to cook well. One of the guards jokes about his sharpness, but Jin's smile disappears. Suddenly he realizes everything. He clenches his fist, his expression darkening because a new, troubling thought is spinning in his head. Somewhere in the distance, he imagines small animals and birds that might have eaten the abandoned rice balls. Everything darkens in his mind. The creatures lie lifeless on the ground, confirming his fears. He remembers how this time his sister Yanva behaved completely differently than in his past life. In his past life, she was his only family, and in her worried eyes he found comfort. But now he recalls that incomprehensible hatred and contempt, which he once dismissed as fiction. Finally, he understood that his foolish former self did not notice the truth that lay right under his nose. Him. From the very beginning, his sister was never on his side, and perhaps was even involved in the murder of his friend. His heart tightens from loss. He had just gained his father's trust, and now he has lost his sister. He stands up, filled with new determination, and tells the men that he is ready to continue their training. With a gentle smile, he asks if he can borrow one of their blades for training. For the rest of the journey, the young man faced endless and exhausting training. He ran while they traveled, waved the blade while they rested, and pushed himself to the limit. He even slept less, stubbornly training his cultivation methods, determined not to waste a single moment. He knows the front line is a deadly trap, so he has no choice. He must push himself to the very edge of his abilities. The leader of his escort admits he has never seen anyone train as fiercely as the young master. He confesses at first he didn't think Jin would last long, and now he is ashamed of his initial thought. The boy just smiles and quietly says that he is simply fighting because he does not want to die. Suddenly he stumbles and falls to the ground. A wave of dizziness overwhelms him after the exhausting training. The escorts instantly draw their weapons, sensing danger. They loudly ask, "Who is there?" A group of rough men emerged from behind the trees and mockingly laughed at the idea that they expected courtesy during a fight. A large group of bandits surrounded them and ordered them to drop their weapons and surrender. Leader of the bandits, a giant with a double-edged axe, threatens to split their heads in half. The head of the escort froze in shock. He recognized the man, Magoo, Sam, the notorious leader of the Green Tiger Gang. He quickly whispered to Jin, "Take the horse and run if a fight breaks out." Jin remembers hearing about the bandit leader. He was known as a well-trained martial arts master. The escort leader stepped forward and respectfully greeted the bandit, openly acknowledging his reputation. He offers to pay the toll, hoping to settle the situation peacefully with talk, not a fight. The bandit leader agrees that the payment sounds fair, then announces their payment is everything they have. While his men laugh, the escort leader desperately begs Jin to mount the horse and flee. But the young man does not back down, fiercely demanding to know how they dared attack the third son of the Sanwoo family. The gang leader looked him over, clearly surprised to learn he was from such a respected family. The bandit leader simply snorted, "You can intimidate him with a name, and he is clearly not scared." With confidence in every step, Jin and his guards prepare for the inevitable clash with the Green Tiger Gang. The bandit leader accuses him of trying to deceive them, and Jin nervously insists that he is from the Sanwoo family. To prove who he is, he pulls out a golden family medallion and shows it as proof of his origin. The leader grimly demands that he toss the medallion for inspection, refusing to come closer himself. One of the escorts sharply warns him not to approach, sensing a trap, but the bandit snarls that he will attack if they do not comply. Jin reluctantly agrees to throw it, but insists the bandit must return it after he himself checks if it is genuine. He tosses the medallion into the air, and the bandit leader reaches out to catch it. The man grabs the golden item. A triumphant look shining on his face, he prepares to examine it carefully. But as soon as he looked down, Jin lunged forward with incredible speed, sword already in hand and ready to strike. He unleashes a powerful attack. The bandit leader is completely unprepared. The ambush caught him by surprise. The gang leader screamed in pain as the blade cut into him. He did not have time to do anything. His men and escorts froze, stunned and silent, watching as their leader was wounded in an instant. Realizing it was a trap, the bandits instantly draw their swords and rush forward to attack. But Jin is ready for them, hands firmly on the sword hilt. He prepares for battle. He steps forward to meet their assault, deflecting attacks with a calm, focused gaze. In a whirlwind of swift and precise movements, he easily cuts through the bandits charging at him. His blade flickers with a faint pink glow as he slices through enemy ranks, leaving a path of destruction behind. The escort commander, seeing his young lord in battle, encouraged the men and led them in a charge to support him. The remaining bandits, gripped by terror at his incredible skill, panic and try to flee. He stands victorious, back to the fleeing men, overwhelmed by the feeling that he is right. He grips the bloodied sword and finally feels his body and soul becoming one after so many years. He feels deep satisfaction, rejoicing in the familiar atmosphere of the battlefield. He stands amid fallen bandits, the only one left standing, with his stunned companions nearby. But as soon as the adrenaline fades, he collapses to the ground, utterly exhausted from the fight. The guards rush to him, bending over him and looking with a mixture of awe and concern. The leader, not believing his eyes, asks if this is not a rejuvenated elder. He simply cannot believe that such a young master possesses such skill. Jin laughed and waved it off. No rejuvenated elder would collapse from exhaustion after a single fight. The leader agrees but notes that it is still impressive, so young, yet kills without hesitation. He adds that it is even stranger to see him resting so comfortably in a place full of bodies. Then he recalls how his sword suddenly shone, and wonders in amazement if it was the legendary sword Kai. The men froze in astonishment. He used the famous Sanwoo 13 swords, the very revered phantom blade technique. The leader is impressed by the power of the second right-hand technique from such a renowned family. He is ashamed of 20 years of accumulated energy. So Jin asks by what method he accumulated it. The man says plainly he only knows the method of cultivating the 6 harmonies. That is all he managed to obtain. Jin recognizes this as an ordinary third-rate technique, easily found in any market. He suddenly told the man that accumulating energy for 20 years by such a simple method is truly impressive. The leader called his men to move out, his face showing both embarrassment and renewed determination. Jin watches as they see in that man a reflection of himself from the past, a person whose efforts bore no fruit due to lack of resources. The men lead their horses because after the battle their respect for the young lord has grown incredibly. The young warrior sits in silence. Deep in thought, a new plan is forming in his mind as they prepare to set out. After days of continuous running and training, the group finally reaches the entrance to Yunnan province. Finally, after 9 hard days on the road, the group arrives at a real tavern, and everyone sighs with relief. Jin generously offers to pay for a round of drinks to celebrate their last day together as a group. The men cheerfully shout, praise him for his generosity, and again say they believe in him. He smiles, happy to share the last meal with the men who walked this hard road with him. Later they all sit at the table, sipping and sharing stories from their travels. One of the warriors openly says that as soon as this business is over, he will return home to his wife and children. Another man teases him. They say traveling warriors should not have a family that ties them down. While they joke, the tavern owner announces the arrival of a beautiful young lady. Jin and the others turn around to see who it is, and one of the men recognizes her. He knows her from their journey. The young lady Cheong-yan steps over the threshold of the tavern, and on her face is the usual calm and restraint. She scans the room with her eyes, and for a moment her gaze meets the looks of the men at the table. The escort instantly recognizes her, the same kind lady who gave Jenna a handkerchief on the road. One of the men nudged Jin and excitedly pointed, young lady Cheong-yan has arrived. He stands up, waves his hand energetically, calls her over and remarks what a coincidence that we met. He impatiently invites her to join them at the table, making room so she can sit. He laughed nervously, and only then realized she had already settled in before he could finish the invitation. The men warmly welcome her, offer a drink, and ask if she wants to order something to eat. Food, she politely declines it for now, her face thoughtful, as if she is pondering something. And then, to everyone's surprise, she says that she is also going to volunteer for the front line. Jin froze at her words, not believing anything he had heard. The girl covers her mouth with her palm, wandering in search of words to explain her sudden action. Jin finds it hard to believe because he knows that even renowned warriors are reluctant to go to such a dangerous place. He asks directly why she wants to volunteer for the front line, but she remains silent. Changing the subject, he notices that she seems to have lost a lot of weight since they last saw each other. He laughed and explained that it was all because of training, and she smiled and agreed he really had become quite slim. One of the escorts picks him up and praises the young master for his incredible diligence during their journey. He adds that since losing weight, the young master has become truly attractive, and Jin proudly agrees. The young lady politely apologizes, says she must step out for a moment, and leaves the table. She moves away from the group, her face unreadable, and heads to a quieter part of the tavern. The men at the table again dive into cheerful conversation and invite Jin to drink some more. He gladly agrees, enjoying the friendly company and a brief rest after their long journey. In a quiet clearing outside, the girl sighs with relief finally. She can be alone. She quietly admits to herself that the thin appearance of the young gentleman seems quite cute to her. But his new look instantly reminded her of her favorite doll, a small plush teddy bear, which she affectionately calls Dumpling. She again recalls that impressive move with which he dealt with the bandits, and those intriguing details about his past that she managed to learn. But all this sparked her curiosity and drew her to him in a way she did not expect. She also remembers his waddling gait and almost unreal lack of endurance. She felt that she could not just leave him and allow the demons of the blood cult to kill him. After all, she had seen his hidden sweetness, so she had to protect him from the dangers lurking ahead. That was the real reason why she followed him all the way to this end. But she cannot find the right words to tell him. He is no longer weak, so she decides that there is no longer a reason to go to the front line. With firm resolve, she will set off home the very next day. Her mission to protect him is now accomplished. But as she was walking through the forest, a sudden noise frightened her, and she let out a piercing scream of terror. She draws the thimble as if it were a sword, her body tenses, and she desperately calls for help. Suddenly, an invisible force rushed past her, and she fell to the ground, trying to understand what kind of monster it could be. A huge, shadowy figure in a red halo loomed over her, its muscular body heralding a deadly clash. The creature attacks with incredible speed, and she realizes with horror that it has no intention of defending itself. Seeing a gap, she grips the sword hilt tighter and prepares to end the fight with one decisive strike. She unleashes a powerful flurry of cuts, her blade glowing with bright blue energy, slicing through the air. She was in complete shock. The creature easily deflected her attack with bare hands and remained completely unharmed. The dark figure leapt into the air, its body radiating dark and ominous energy, preparing to strike. It delivers a powerful blow, and she flies backward with a scream of pain. The creature releases a strange, expanding energy wave, and she has to brace herself, preparing for the hit. She manages to block the attack, but the force of the blow still pushes her, and she slides across the ground. As the dust settles, she raises her eyes in disbelief, not understanding what kind of monster she is dealing with. The creature as shadow dissipates, revealing a muscular man with a strange, sewn-shut mouth. He lets out a beastly scream and lunges forward again, his eyes glowing with a threatening red light. She grips the blue sword that shines in her hands and prepares to meet his fierce attack with her strength. She rushes into a series of lightning-fast slashes, but the man easily parries each with his bare hands. She is completely stunned. Her hand trembles from the force of his blocks, and she cannot comprehend his immense strength. Suddenly, one of the guards standing watch rushes back swiftly, loudly shouting about an alarm. He tries to intervene, but the burly man grabs the young woman and uses her as a human shield. The guard's sword shattered into pieces against the incredibly tough skin of the creature, and his hand trembled from the impact. He looks at his broken blade and cannot believe his eyes, stunned by the unnatural endurance of that man. Then the creature cruelly attacks the companion, who is now defenseless against the powerful assault. It grabs the young woman from behind, its huge hand covering her mouth to muffle her screams. Holding her with a cruel grip, it forces her to watch as it prepares to finish off the fallen guard. The creature let out an ominous laugh, its eyes blazing with a terrifying red light, and it savored the moment. A young girl looks in horror, her eyes wide open with fear, while the monster holds her captive. The creature was about to strike when a flash of light pierced the air and hit it right in the chest. A powerful blow threw the creature back, its head snapping sharply from the force of the hit. Jin and the rest of the guards appear at the last moment, and he rushes to the young lady to make sure she is okay. One of the men screams in despair upon seeing that his accompanying young god died in battle. Jin orders everyone to return to the tavern, but the men do not dare to leave their fallen comrade. The monster let out another furious roar and lunged at the group with renewed fury. Jin swiftly pulled the young girl to himself, becoming her shield against the merciless monster attack. He meets the creature's attack head on. Their blades clash in a shower of sparks and red energy. He shouts to everyone back to the inn. His face is grim. He recognized the formidable enemy. The young lady, still in shock, looks at her torn sleeve, a grim reminder of how close she was to death. She looks at the monster, fear and confusion battling within her, as she tries to comprehend this nightmare. A young girl stands with wide open eyes, gripped by horror, completely frozen from the sudden and brutal attack. The monster attacks with a powerful red slash, but Jin instantly lunges forward to shield the girl from the blow. It lets out a fierce roar, its muscular body glowing with dark and threatening energy. Jin sharply throws the girl to the ground, covers her mouth with his hand, and gestures for her to make no sound at all. The beast looms over them. It is dark, as if pulsating, slowly scanning the nearby surroundings. Suddenly he notices that the strange man had kept his eyes closed all this time. The young lady, with growing horror, realizes that the monster's vision is clearly seriously impaired. She presses against him in fear, and asks if he is all right while the creature stands threateningly nearby. A wide, eerie smile spreads across the monster's face, its sewn-up mouth opening wide. Suddenly it sharply turns and rushes back to the tavern, and Jin understands that other people are in mortal danger. Inside the tavern, there is complete chaos. The monster attacks, and a child is caught in the very center of the fight. One of the escorts lies dead on the floor, and the visitors scream in horror, calling him a monster. And the girl watches in horror as the creature aims at another of his men. Monster. It rages through the room, mowing down everyone who stands in its way. It grabs the guard's sword with bare hands, and the man looks in shock, wondering. Not knowing where it appeared from, the frightened guard trembles, begging for mercy, while the creature squeezes him tighter and tighter. Just at the moment when the monster raises its hand for the final blow, Jin rushes forward to intervene and deflects the attack. Pushed back, tossed the guard into the air and sent him to safety, while he decisively charged straight at the creature. The escort leader ordered him to retreat, but Jin shouted for everyone to be silent and steadfastly stayed in place. Other guards panic. One calls the police, another pleads desperately to be saved. The young warrior realizes the situation is terrible and must somehow make the monster shut up. The beast, hunched among the debris, shouted that no one would survive this night. The escort leader froze in horror when he realized the monster was preparing to attack them again. In a desperate attempt, Jin suddenly rushes across the room and lets out a loud scream to attract its attention. He quickly grabs the edge of the large tablecloth and pulls it with all his strength. With one powerful jerk, he overturns the entire table, and the dishes crash to the floor with a clatter. The sounds drove him mad. The monster sharply turned its head and shouted for everyone to be silent. Now that the creature was fully focused on him, Jin stands ready, directly opposite her in the middle of the room. His guards watch tensely, not knowing what the young master has planned. A young girl watches what is happening, and both anxiety and curiosity are visible on her face. Jin stands next to a small stool, his gaze fixed on the blind but incredibly strong opponent. He firmly places his hand on the wooden seat, gauging its weight and position. With a sharp kick, he pushed the stool. It swiftly slid across the floor in the opposite direction. The monster instantly turns its head, its senses catching the sound of the moving stool. The escort leader quickly covered his companion's mouth. He understood that absolute silence was necessary. The frightened man struggled for a moment longer, his eyes wide with fear, then suddenly grasped the plan. Jin looks around in despair, searching for any object to divert attention. A young girl jumped high into the air, her body radiating a bright blue glow. She strikes a powerful kick directly at the side of the monster's head, and the echo of the blow spreads all the way to the very end. After hitting, she gracefully performed a side somersault, moving away from the stunned creature. She landed in a low squat on the floor, her eyes fixed on the opponent. She is ready for his reaction. The young girl lunges forward, her eyes filled with fierce, unwavering determination. She unleashes a flurry of lightning, fast slashes. Her glowing blade flies so fast that the creature cannot block it. In the heat of the battle, she shouts to Jin, demanding that he quickly explain the situation to the other. He shouts the monster recognizes people only by sound. He told everyone to be completely silent. The frightened companions instantly pressed their palms to their mouths. They tried not to breathe loudly, as if every breath could give them away. But Jin knew just being silent is not a way to defeat such a strong enemy. He warns if the creature cannot hear, it will switch to smell and start tracking them. To strike back, he must act first and finds a way to finally attract the monster's attention. He sees a bowl full of coins strung on a thread, and instantly understands this is the perfect tool for his plan. He knows he must act swiftly while the creature is still distracted by the attack of that girl. She looks around in surprise, momentarily confused by what the young warrior is doing. He holds a bottle of alcohol and some food, raises a finger to his lips, signaling her to be silent. This is a tense confrontation. The young girl keeps the monster occupied while Jin prepares his trap. The plan is this: first attract the creature's attention with the ringing of coins. He throws the strings of coins, hoping that the simultaneous ringing will confuse the monster and immobilize it. While the noise confuses it, he will have a chance to sneak up unnoticed. As soon as the coins clink, the monster freezes and turns, trying to find the source of the sound. The companion is frozen in shock, watching as a ceramic item breaks on the floor near the noise. The plan works flawlessly, and Jin quietly sneaks up right behind the distracted creature without making a sound. He knows that he cannot afford a single mistake. One touch from the monster, and he will perish. He carefully places his hands on the creature's neck, holding his breath as he takes the necessary position. But at that crucial moment, a loud hiccup bursts from his mouth, breaking the tense silence. The sound rolled through the room, and even one of the frightened attendants hiccuped in panic. The monster's ear twitched. It instantly caught the sudden noise, its body tensed. It slowly turns its head toward him, and the young warrior freezes, eyes wide open in sheer horror. His heart pounds in his chest as he realizes his carefully thought-out plan has just horribly failed. The entity leans closer, sniffs the air, and begins to precisely calculate his location with its nose. Frozen in place, the young warrior watches as the monster leans down its mouth, stitched with threads, just a few centimeters from his face. His heart wildly pounds in his chest. He understands that his fatal mistake has thrown him into mortal danger. The creature's eyes remain closed. It takes a deep breath, tensely calculating his exact position by scent. The guards only watched in horror, completely paralyzed by fear, while the gigantic figure loomed over their young master. But the young lady is not going to stand aside. Her face hardened. She prepares to intervene. With a sharp jerk, she broke forward, her shining blade aimed straight at the distracted monster. He knows he is trapped with no way out. He must act now, or he will die. In a desperate game of life and death, he moves his hands from his neck to his face. With a sudden, sharp movement, he forcibly opened the monster's eyelids. Before him appeared its bloodshot, blind eyes. The creature roared with a deafening scream of pain and surprise, stunning the young woman who looked on in disbelief. He jerked his head forward and struck a powerful forehead blow directly into the monster's snout. As it recoils backward, he jumps onto its shoulders and forces its jaws open, aiming at its only vulnerable spot. She immediately understands his plan. The monster's body is impenetrable, but inside its jaws vulnerable. Knowing this is their only chance, she grips the sword tighter and prepares to strike. A dazzling blue aura explodes around her as she channels all her energy into the blade for the decisive blow. She soars high into the air and finds herself directly above the bound creature. With all her strength, she thrusts her shining sword straight down into the open maw of the monster. The blade pierced his flesh and came out of the nape a deadly strike. She barely holds the hilt. The force of the blow shakes her body as the creature convulsively thrashes. In a last desperate attempt, the monster's hands reached upward to grab the blade stuck deep in its throat. He moves up to her side and places his hands over hers on the hilt of the sword embedded in the creature. Combining their strength, they both press down, driving the blade deeper to finish the job. The monster's hand, stubbornly clutching the blade with its claws, finally goes limp and falls to the floor with a dull thud. When the creature finally lay dead beneath them, the chaotic battle suddenly and silently ceased. They paused there for a moment longer, catching their breath after the fierce fight. The surviving companions can only watch. Shock, relief, and a mix of other emotions are written on their faces. The next morning, gentle light appeared over the distant mountains, as if announcing the start of a new day. Two of the surviving companions dropped to their knees, heads bowed in mourning for their fallen comrades. In the courtyard, the bodies of the dead lay in a row, covered respectfully with white shrouds. 3 guards who remained stand aside, their faces somber. They mourn their loss. One of the guards turns his head and immediately notices a young warrior approaching. The man asked if he was leaving now, and the youth confirmed, saying he must hurry. The escort leader sincerely wishes him a safe journey and good luck on the road ahead. Shaking his hand, the youth responded in kind, wishing them health and success in their plans. Then he says that he initially prepared 5 volumes but will only distribute 3. From beneath his cassock, he pulled out a small stack 3 bound books tied together. The escort leader looks embarrassed, and the youth explained that this is cultivation technique much better than what they have. His eyes widen in shock when he hears that this is the legendary method of heart preservation. The young man added that he also included several swordsmanship techniques he knows and says they should help. Raising his eyes, he silently recalls that this valuable method was obtained for him by Seal Pung in his past life. He remembers how this technique allowed him to reach a level in less than 10 years that usually takes 60 years of internal development, a truly first-class method. The escort leader froze in surprise and asked why he was doing all this for them, and how they could ever repay such a great deed. The young man smiles and says that they fought for their lives together that made them friends, and he no longer needs books. Holding the books, the leader looks at him with deep gratitude and sincerely thanks him on behalf of his people. Announcing that he must leave, the young man turned and walked away. Another explanation would have cost him a whole day on the road. He dreams that they will one day meet again as first-class martial arts masters, and the escort swears to reach that level and visit him to celebrate together. And when the two had moved away from the tavern, the 3 guards left behind watched them in respectful silence. As they walked, the young lady said in surprise that he was a strange person. She had never seen a martial arts master share his techniques with strangers. He smiles and says it does not matter, these techniques are not a secret of the Soundwoo clan. His voice becomes heavy. He asks if she really intends to go to the front line, warning about the many monsters and that terrible danger. She looks at the mountains and says she has thought about it for a long time, and believes it is the right decision for her. She recalls that brutal clash from last night, and explains that there are many such monsters on the front. This means that right now people are fighting for their lives against such creatures, a reality she cannot simply brush off by returning home. She firmly says that she did not learn martial arts to live under protection, and that her father always taught her to stand proudly. Returning to him, she asks directly, does he see her simply as a lady, or as an equal in the art of combat? He clenches his fist, and realizes there is not the slightest doubt in her words. He mistakenly considered her an immature girl. With a solemn salute, he admits that he misjudged the strength of her convictions, and sincerely asks for forgiveness. The girl smiles, accepts his apology, and adds that he is a real man who knows how to admit his mistakes. He responds with a gesture and a barely noticeable smile. For a moment, mutual respect flashes between the 2 warriors. Finally, they reach the place they were heading to, the great battlefield of the Bloomin' cult in Yunnan, known as Zhonglan. In the forest, the man screamed in pain as a blade wielded by a sinisterly smiling attacker pierced his stomach from behind. The woman screamed when she was taken hostage, seeing a dead companion on the ground, while the cultist mocked the fallen. This is a full-scale ambush by the Blood Demon cult, their twin dogs. 7 misfortunes leap out from among the trees to surround the prey. Leader G Mac holds the woman captive, mockingly asks if the dead man was her lover, and promises that she will soon forget him. His brother, Gu Yajil, grabbed another woman and rudely commented on her appearance before Gmok told him to focus. Amid the chaos, a bright red signal flare shoots into the sky, a desperate call for reinforcements. One of the cult members notices from afar that a fleeing woman is launching a signal. Another cultist notices the flash and shouts to his comrades that trouble is coming soon. Their leader orders to seize another woman before retreating, and the group jumps down from the trees to attack. On the ground, the squad of female warriors instantly forms a defensive formation, the swords in their hands drawn and ready for battle. A cultist attacks with a powerful sigh. His swing meets the warrior S-blade, sparks flying around. The women fight with all their might, encouraging each other. Hold on, our commander will be here soon. One of the warriors struggles, her sword tensely holding back the heavy, curved blade of the enemy. Yahello laughs mockingly, dismissing their efforts, and asks if they really think their main defense will stop him. There are far fewer female warriors, and they fend off blows from all sides as the cultists intensify their assault. But the woman leading the defense breathes heavily, and her face shows immense strain from this desperate battle. Suddenly, the cult leader's smile faded. He raised his head and sensed a new presence. A solitary figure soars high above the treetops, heading straight for the battlefield. Here is Mai Ujaim, the 4th commander of the 13th Corps Squad Flying Dragon, known as Hawk Dian Kang. The battle-weary warriors see his arrival, their faces shine with relief, and they cheer joyfully. Our squad commander is here. When the platoon commander appeared, the cult leader froze in panic, but quickly ordered his men to deal with the others, and he himself rushed to fight the newcomer. With 2 scythes in his hands, the man confidently prepares to challenge the formidable Dying Hawk King alone. The squad leader swiftly dives down with incredible speed, and unleashes a powerful attack that the cultist barely manages to dodge. He watches as his purple energy slash barely misses the target, his gaze remaining fixed on the opponent. Their weapons finally clashed with a deafening roar. A powerful shockwave swept through the air from the impact. The cultist is clearly surprised, his face twisted from the force of the squad leader's blow. With another quick and powerful swing, the hawk hurls the opponent backward, who crashes to the ground with a thud. The man drove his side into the ground as if clutching it to slow his momentum, and instantly regained his stance for the next exchange. Suddenly, one of his subordinates shouted, warning him that another powerful opponent had appeared at the location. A woman appears on a tree branch above, recognized as Tan Yo-un from the sword peak of the Tan clan. She looks down at the chaos below her, calm and composed, ready to leap into battle. The cult leader grits his teeth in irritation and realizes the situation has just become much more dangerous. Taking advantage of the momentary distraction, the squad commander dashed forward sharply to intensify the attack. Their blades clashed again, pulling the 2 warriors into a fierce, lightning-fast duel. The expression on Dian Kang Hawk's face is pure focus, as he continues his relentless assault. Their fight is a blurred whirl of motion, where steel and energy collide again and again across the battlefield. The cult leader grabs a hostage and orders his brother to seize their main target and retreat while he holds the defense himself. At their leader's command, the rest of the cultists rushed at the woman from the Tan clan. She watches them approach with an unshaken expression, as if their numbers do not impress her at all. Instead of fighting, she gracefully jumped and disappeared into the thicket of trees, forcing them to give chase. She leads the cultists in pursuit through the forest, drawing them deeper along the winding path. A confident smile plays on her lips. It is clear that this retreat is only part of a larger plan. One of the cultists barely keeps up, bent under the weight of an unconscious woman hanging on his shoulder. But his eyes narrow with determination. He forces himself to move forward, and does not allow himself to fall behind. Suddenly, a warrior leaps down from the treetops and unexpectedly attacks the man carrying the hostage. Her shining green blade cleanly cuts the cultist's side, forcing him to release his captive. He cries out in pain and stumbles from the unexpected sweeping blow. The warrior picks up the fallen comrade, holds her firmly, and gently whispers that soon she will unlock her Kai flow. The cult leader freezes. He recognizes in the other powerful opponent Dian Kang Dragon Saguna. As more warriors descend from the sky, he screams in rage, realizing that they themselves have walked right into a trap. A woman of the Tang clan asks with a sneer, could those foolish demon leaders have just noticed this? She instantly attacks another cultist, her sword cutting into his side with incredible force. The wounded leader scolds her, and his subordinate persistently says, look up, the new ones have arrived. They watch in horror as their people on the path below are completely surrounded by the dragon's body. Among them suddenly appeared a calm and formidable figure, the 13th captain of the Dragon Corps, Fen Yan. The captain attacks without hesitation. A huge, stunning wave of red energy bursts from his sword. The sect brother screams the captain's name in horror as the powerful attack completely engulfs him. Elsewhere, the squad's deputy softly landed on a tree branch she saved her comrade in arms. She looks down at the battlefield where her allies are breaking the cultists one by one. Captain Fum Yang stands ready. His single powerful strike has turned the tide of the entire battle. Another warrior effortlessly slashes the demonic cultists, his blade burning with bright golden energy. This is Hanjo Sung, the first squad commander, who dryly remarked that they woke him from a pleasant sleep. The cult leader's face turned pale when he recognized the legendary Azure Dragon's Sword of Gusts. His brother urges run, and the leader reluctantly retreats, swearing he will not forget this defeat. But Sogyun appears on their path and coldly informs them that they will go nowhere and will meet their end here. There, the cult leader desperately tries to escape, and the dragon Dian Kang jumps into the air to intercept him. Saigonel's blade cuts the man's arm, but the wounded leader grits his teeth and runs further, shouting threats. The rest of the Seven Misfortunes members follow their leader and disappear into the dense forest. And in the quiet aftermath, Captain Fom Yan stands next to Hancho Sun, while sobbing echoes around. The warrior cries over the body of his fallen comrade, calls his name in despair, and begs him to wake up. At that moment, squad leader Mayujiam appeared with another man and asked what had happened. Suddenly he grabs the rookie by the collar and, fiercely demanding an answer, shouts why he, Seal Peng, came so late. He shouts that if Seal Peng had made it in time, they could have defeated at least one more of the Seven Misfortunes. Seal Peng lowers his gaze with a heavy heart, apologizes, and explains that his squad was also ambushed. Yugam snapped, "You irresponsible bastard. A simple soldier should never have been made a commander." The warrior woman stood between them and resolutely addressed the commander of the fourth squad. "Stop. I will not tolerate my commander being insulted." She says that a squad of 7 fought against 5 treacherous spirits and a hidden spider spirit, losing 2 of their members in the battle. Yugam recalls with horror that spider spirits are dangerous demons that grow stronger by absorbing human essence. The deputy of the squad sternly reminds such creatures must be killed immediately as soon as you spot them, and he knows this well. He snorted contemptuously, but fell silent. The tension between him and the exhausted Seal Peng hung thickly in the air. The deputy leader angrily lashes out at Yu Guillaume and demands that he immediately apologize to her commander. Seal Peng asks her to stop, gently reminding her that Yugam just lost a comrade from the squad. But she sharply replies that they did too. He just smiles, trying to calm his subordinate. "It's okay. You don't need to defend me." She silently lowers her gaze, worry and irritation on her face because of how they treat her leader. A woman from the Tang clan directly tells Sil Peng that his soft nature is the reason why Yugeum controls and tramples him. And because of this, his squad has a harder time. He only laughs nervously in response, and she, folding her arms across her chest, sighs. She is clearly annoyed by his passivity. Sagunal enters Mediat, places a hand on Silpung's shoulder, and apologizes for Udim. Silpung says he understands. Hancho Sun turns to the captain and asks if recruits are expected to arrive that day. The captain departs, saying that they will need time to become useful, but their arrival still brings relief. Meanwhile, the young warrior from the tavern finally appears, and silently hopes that the recruits will hold out at least a little. The story shifts to Yoninanti, the second headquarters of the Blood Demon Cult Front, a large and formidable building under a clear sky. The representative leads a small group into a waiting room, and says that the deputy commander will arrive soon, while a girl stands aside and waits silently. A young man with long hair looks intently at the girl, and thinks that she is probably the last to sign up. He reflects that some things never change. The companion addressed him as young sir, and cautiously asked if the 13th squad is so young because all the experienced warriors had died. The young master confirms it seems so. Not only the 13th squad is being rejuvenated, but the entire Flying Dragon Corps. He recalls from a previous life the 13th squad was always the youngest, and only the commander with his deputy were older, true warriors. His comrade is shocked. He realizes that the squad mostly consists of young people who are forcibly conscripted into the army. At that moment, the girl who was standing alone approaches them, and, with a hint of surprise in her voice, asks why the experienced warriors do not volunteer to join. The young lord calmly explains there is neither glory nor benefit here. The girl only glanced confusedly. He tells that at the front everything is kept secret, feats and deaths go unnoticed, and only danger without honor remains there. The conversation suddenly breaks off when an older man clears his throat to attract their attention. He introduced himself, Haiyan Yongbo, deputy commander of the 13th squad of the Flying Dragon Corps. He confidently assumes that he has been heard of, and the young master silently thinks the same. It is nice to see this person, so he decides to play along. But the young master's companion bluntly says that she has never heard of him, and skeptically asks if he was famous. Base, the commander, waved her off, saying many masters are forgotten due to vows of silence. and she simply lacks knowledge. The girl does not back down, insists she knows almost all the highest-level masters, and directly asks if he is one of them. The deputy commander's face began to twitch. It was clear how irritated he was by her relentless and provocative questions. Nearby, the young lord, confident that she hit the man's weak spot, tries to hold back laughter. The older man clenches his fist in irritation. Irritated, the deputy commander sharply changes the subject and says they need to hurry to distribute squads and gather captains. He slowly unrolls a scroll and begins to read, pronouncing the first name Soundwoo Jin, the third son of the Soundwoo family. The tone of the vice commander softens. He seems to acknowledge the weight of the Soundwoo name and glances at the young master. He continues reading the list and calls Qianju and daughter of Qian Gasung, one of the 4 masters of Guizhou. The girl with pink hair who had questioned him earlier froze. She recognized the Guizhou 4 masters and realized it was an evil faction. The young master cast a glance at her, thinking that it was truly strange a representative of the evil faction voluntarily enlisting in the combat alliance. The deputy commander shifted his gaze to the girl with blue hair and asked if she was from the evil faction. Her dossier had neither family nor school. The young master mentally sensed this was not so. He remembered how Lady Jog called her Chong Yin, but in reality she was a completely different person. The blue-haired girl simply confirmed that her name was Chi Yong Yin, and her face was calm and unwavering. The official then loudly announced those whose identities are not established are forbidden from voluntarily going to the front line. Soundwoo Jin considered this absurd, because the identity of their own captain of the 7 squad Seolpung was completely unknown. The deputy commander insisted strongly that in his 13th squad there were strict rules and no exceptions would be made. He gave the girl a choice: either immediately reveal her family at the school or apply to another Flying Dragon Corps. At that moment the young lord intervened and explained that Chang Yan was a close friend of Lady Juge from the Sword Peak of the Heavenly Gift. The vice commander's face turned pale when he heard that she was connected to the dear daughter of the military strategist of the Martial Alliance. Stammering, he asked why a lady of such status had stepped forward. The young master indifferently replied that he did not know her reasons. He laughed and added that this probably touched the very top of the alliance, hinting that the matter was far above the rank of deputy commander. The face of the deputy commander twitched with irritation. He realized that he had been completely outplayed, and now he would no longer be able to refuse her. After the tense meeting, the newly appointed are led out of the main building and taken to their barracks. They approach a large, well-maintained building. Their guide calls it the barracks of the 7th squad. The young gentleman looks at the structure, and his heart tightens. He whispers that it is exactly as he remembers it. He turns his thoughts to the past 7 years, feeling that bittersweet mixture of happy and tragic moments that happened within these walls. He sighed with relief. All his comrades were assigned to the 7th squad, and he hoped at all costs to avoid the 4th. The man leading them warns that some members of the squad will try to bully the newcomers, and hopes that he himself will not suffer too much. Then the young gentleman recalls painful humiliations from the past, how they called him a disgrace and shouted for him to get out. He remembers how others whispered that even a glance at his face brought misfortune, and asks himself if it was just mockery. Although he ultimately endured it, that painful memory of being pushed away to the point of wishing to die still does not let go. Walking down the familiar corridor, he feels how the very thought of living here again evokes those heavy memories. Finally, the guide brings him to a room. The door opens, and before him stand the current members of the 7th squad. 2 gladly greet him, and one jokes that the newcomer's build seems to say he eats as much as the Joker himself. But from the other end of the room, another group of men mockingly throws with a malicious smile, "Did a pig just arrive?" They continue to mock, saying that with such a captain they did not even expect a real newcomer. Soundwoo Jin thinks that now his reaction is much more acceptable than before, and he is glad he decided to lose weight. The guide solemnly introduces him young Master Sanwoo Jin, the 3rd son of the Honorable Sanwoo family from Guizhou. Those 3 who recently mocked him fell silent upon hearing the name of such a famous family. They instantly recognize him, the infamous 3rd son, known to all as a cripple and beaten by his own brother. One of them mockingly said that it must have been hard for a pig to lose so much weight. Hearing these insults, the guide's face froze, and silent anger flared in his eyes because of their behavior. 2 more friendly squadmates were also tense and stunned by the cruelty of his words. But despite the rude mockery, the young master simply smiles. Their attempts to provoke him do not affect him at all. He calmly approaches the leader of the hooligans, greets him by full name Hamu Jin, and extends his hand. The hooligan froze in surprise. The newcomer knows who he is, and Sanwoo Jin just confirmed it, and immediately challenged him to a fight. Before Ham Jin could react, Sanwoo Jin grabbed his wrist and with a jerk threw him off balance. Without hesitation, he powerfully punches the hooligan right in the stomach. The force of the blow echoes throughout the room. The blow threw Hamjin backward, but the young warrior held on tightly and refused to let go. Twisting the opponent's wrist, he uses his momentum and spins the man in a wide arc. He spins Hamjin in the air with incredible speed and strength, showing his unexpected power. The young master pushed the hooligan's head against the wooden wall. The impact cracked its surface. Hamjin falls to the floor, his eyes rolling upward after the sudden and brutal attack. He completely loses consciousness. One of his stunned friends, frightened by this display of violence, nervously asks Wu Jin, "What are you doing?" The young master just smiles, asks what he is doing, and reminds the man that they were the ones who called him a cripple. Angered, another hooligan clenches his fists, calls the youth a bastard, and is ready to retaliate. And Sound Wu Jin just looks back, thinking this should be enough as a lesson, and even wants to beat up the other hooligans. Suddenly the sound of footsteps cuts through the tense confrontation in the tent, and instantly draws everyone's attention to the door. A new figure appears in the room, and the young master immediately recognizes his voice. A smile spreads across his face. He realizes that the true boss of the squad has finally arrived. A man with green hair and a stern expression stands in the doorway, demanding to know what is happening here. He looks down at the newcomer and the unconscious man on the floor, his gaze sharp and questioning. The man with green hair asks the question again, his voice calm but firm, and it is clear that he is an authority here. Sound Wu Jin maintains a cheerful appearance, but inwardly he already feels that the situation has just escalated. But he snaps his fingers, preparing for the next clash that is about to unfold. He smiles, greets the newcomer as a senior, introduces himself, and says that he has just joined the 7th squad. He cheerfully explains that they called him a pig and a cripple, so he simply repaid them with the same kindness. The green-haired man introduced himself as Ju Tae, a giant of the Point Spear sect, and his tone was serious, completely without a smile. The young master understood as expected, Ju Tae. Jiang does not want to fight out of pride for his sect. He knows that Ju Tai Jiang, also known as Point Spear Sword Viper, is a disciple of one of the 9 great sects. But this pride made him a poisonous personality in the squad. He could not accept having to obey an unknown captain, and constantly cause trouble. San Wu Jin clenches his fist, recalling his first love who died because of this man, and swears that it will never happen again. Now it was clear to him he was too weak to deal with Jute Guiyong, who was probably at the middle level of the first rank of martial arts. He decides there is no need to rush, returns to the guide and asks if they should all have dinner together to get acquainted. Jute Jian grits his teeth in irritation because he is being ignored. He is clearly not used to such indifferent disrespect. Sun Wu Jin just glanced back, thinking that man was a vile bastard, but the man's plan was already unfolding. He returns to Jute Jiang with a slight smile, and says that now he recognizes him, and has heard rumors about the Viper, the one who carries the spear sword. Hearing the nickname Chute, Jing's face darkened, and he placed his hand on the sword hilt. Young Master Fine, with naive innocence, asked if his nickname was Point Spear Sword Viper, pretending that he understood it that way. Enraged, Jute Jiang draws his sword and growls at the novice. "You recklessly scouted, now you will die for it." Xiaopan, the guide, immediately intervenes and asks Jutai Jiang what he is doing, but the furious warrior sternly orders him to step aside. You see, this punk is trying to calm the situation by saying that the rookie simply doesn't know any better and is apologizing. He smiles calmly, trying to convince his agitated partner, but his facial expression remains firm. He decisively warns Jute and Jiayong, "If you don't lower your sword, you will cross the line." Chu Taijun asked mockingly, "Will Sol Pun really stop him from punishing a second-rate warrior who deceived a first-class one?" At that moment, San Wu Jin waved his hand and laughed, cheerfully apologizing and admitting that he behaved rudely. He adds that at first the rate warrior treated their highest-level captain carelessly, so he thought that Jute and Jiayong wouldn't mind. 2 friendly comrades from the squad burst out laughing and exclaimed that a real boss had just joined them. San Wu Jin continues to tease him, saying with a sly smile that Jute and Jiang are unlikely ever to reach the Captain-S level. The green-haired warrior's face darkens with rage as the rookie's words hit the mark, and asks if he will answer for his words. The boy just smiles and asks what Jute, Giant, will do if he really can prove his words. The arrogant warrior gives him 3 months and says, if the rookie proves he is right, he will take his life as payment. The arrogant warrior gives him 3 months and says, if the rookie proves he is right, he will take his life as payment. San Wu Jin agrees but asks what he will get if he wins. Another man replies mockingly that he will die anyway. The young man rejected this idea and resolutely said that they could not allow the dear comrade, who has to fight demons, to die in vain. Instead, he proposes if he manages to defeat Jute, Guying from then on must treat him as his elder brother. The proud warrior grits his teeth, obviously humiliated and enraged by this absurd and contemptuous condition. Despite boiling with rage, he accepts the challenge and swears to fulfill the stranger's wish within 3 months. Jute, Jiang returns to Silpong and asks if he will also try to stop this duel that he himself initiated. He leaned so close to the young master that his breath was audible, and whispered, "Fight as much as you want, you will regret saying that." Enraged Jute Ji Yong runs out of the room before that. He throws a small round object over his shoulder. The rest of the squad, both hooligans and good comrades, instantly ran after him, impatiently waiting to see what would happen next. 2 men who initially greeted the newcomer laugh and say how refreshing it is to see someone dare to stand against Jute Jian. San Wujin knows that Bai Shayang is a disciple of a secret sect that fell due to an ancient tragedy related to Jute, the sect of Jiayon. But another man laughed and said that from the first glance he liked the newcomer and felt that they would get along well. San Wujin is surrounded by Bisa, Yang, and Bai Chongwon. He remembers them as close friends who gave their lives saving him in a past life. With tears in his eyes, he silently swears that in this life he will never allow them to perish. Selpung approaches closer, anxiously asks if he will be all right, and warns that Jute, Jiong should not be taken lightly. The young master only smiles and asks the captain to teach him, declaring that he is ready to work until death. He added that since he is now only a squad member, the senior captain can speak freely with him. The captain agrees with a sly smile and warns the youth, since you asked for it yourself, they will push you so hard that you will wish to die. And saying this, Yang warns him you can't even imagine what you are asking for. The captain's training is designed for masters of the highest level. The young man smiles, thinking that he has done this before. This time he is going to share something good with his friends. Then he turned to Baisa and Yang and jokingly laughed at his confidence, saying that at first glance he looked like a real man. Provoked, flawed, and still young, he exclaims that it is impossible for him to lack confidence, insisting that he is sure of everything. He takes a confident pose and loudly says that he will gladly join the training to prove what he said. The muscular man Beijing Guan laughed and said that he would also like to join, but he already has his own big dream. He simply says his goal is to defeat demons with external martial arts, honed to the limit, so that there is no time left for other matters. San Wujin's eyes sparkled with admiration, and he asked the elder if he would teach him those amazing external martial arts. The great man froze suddenly, blushed, stammered, and asked if the novice seriously wanted to learn from him. Cao Peng reminded him that during the selection for the squad, Cao Nujin said he wanted to see whose skin was tougher, and his aura dimmed. Hearing this, Beijing Guan came alive. The young lord leaned closer and admitted that he had lied, but he still had his own goal. He enthusiastically described his dream to fly like a projectile, with a hardened body crashing into demons and shattering them to pieces. Zhang Guan, as if enchanted, imagined flying through the air and breaking demons into pieces with his body. The young lord continued and said that if he succeeded, people would give him cool nicknames like Iron God Matier. Beijing Guan repeated the names to himself, eyes wide with admiration, and a blush crept across his face. San Wujin smiled to himself, knowing that his friend was now completely hooked on this idea, a simple but effective trap. The next day, training began deep in the lush green forest. Captain Selpeng led a small group of recruits forward, among them the young lord and his 2 friends, along a winding path. Bai Xiang, dressed in a heavy vest, proudly declared that this level of training was nothing for a disciple of his sect. Standing next to him, Sun Wujin thinks that since he has already undergone this training, it will be a breeze. He confidently jumps onto a tree branch and tells his friends that it's a trifle, he will go ahead. But as soon as his foot touched the branch, it broke under the weight, and he exclaimed in surprise. Beijing Wan, perched on a branch above, calls out anxiously, asking if his new friend is okay. The young man falls with a thud onto the forest floor, lies heavily on his back, and a broken twig falls on him from above. He lay on the ground, and with a groan realized that he had already undergone this training in a past life, but only after losing weight. A month passes, and the morning light gently filters through the dense forest canopy. A dirty hand, trembling from exhaustion, clings to the edge of a deep pit. Baisa, Young climbs out, completely exhausted after the grueling training. It turns out that once, fleeing from his broken sect, he ended up in the same squad with a disciple of the pointed spear sect. The chief disciple of the secret sect suddenly found himself in the same group with a person from the sect that caused his downfall. He did not expect much when he revealed his origin. He knew that it would be very difficult for a secondary warrior to obtain apologies. He hoped for at least some sign of guilt, but Zhu Teijiang just looked at him and asked, "So what?" Then that arrogant student asked him with a sneer if he was proud that the elders of his sect died because of their own greedy ambitions. Angered, Wei Ziyang lost his head in the attack, but the outcome of the fight was painfully obvious from the very beginning. But after that day, almost nothing changed. He was still too weak to defeat even one demon, let alone his arrogant partner. Having lost his sexual method of internal cultivation, he was left with no chance to become stronger. He felt powerless in an unfair world, his hands covered with scars from futile efforts, but he refused to be pitied as weak. He drifted aimlessly, just another face in the squad, until one day everything changed. Sanwoo Jin, looking crazy, joined the 7th squad with a wide, confident smile. This rookie, who was only 2nd level and did not look like a fighter at all, got into conflict with Jute and Jia Young from day one. For some reason, this seemingly crazy behavior incredibly refreshed the tired Bisa. Young. He fell for the rookie's provocation, pretended to be irritated, but secretly harbored a burning desire to join the intense training. But already the next day, lying exhausted on the ground, he realized he had made a huge mistake and would soon die. He groans with regret, thinking if only he had just kept silent, he wouldn't suffer so much. Meanwhile, Captain Xiaopang effortlessly jumps among the treetops, his movements light and fast, despite wearing a weighted vest. Young Bisa grits his teeth, because after a month he still barely keeps up with the captain's pace. He forces himself to stand, determined not to give up, no matter how much it hurts. A cheerful voice called him, tearing him from his thoughts and making him look up in surprise. Sanwoo Jin, somehow full of energy, jokingly asks if he is already disappointed after such a short time. He laughs and says, "If this continues, wise boy, you'll catch up to me soon," a clear taunt. And the exhausted student glares fiercely at him, thinking only, "I will never lose to this boy. He is the same level but heavier." This only angers him more. The newcomer is mastering the secret move of his sect so quickly. Only 3 days had passed since the start of training when Sanwoo Jin approached him and asked for help. In return, he offered to teach him the method of internal cultivation, having recognized the true value of that secret movement technique. The new rivalry ignited a fire within him. He pushed off the branch with renewed determination. He swears he will not lose to that bastard, his eyes burning with the fire of rivalry. The daily routine of the squad is not for the weak. After the dawn sprint, they hone energy circulation, train breath control, and practice weapon mastery. After eating, 3 men gathered to refine external martial arts, pushing their bodies to the limit. In the evening, squad members take turns holding sparring sessions, friendly matches where they sharpen their combat skills. The next day, the exhausting cycle repeats. It drains them to the bone but makes them stronger. After another grueling day of training, Sanwoo Jin and Beijing, Guan return, greeted by the captain who notes they are late. One of the squad girls praised the young master. "You are amazing, you are better than yesterday." He laughed in response and said it was nothing compared to the captain's strength, modestly brushing off the compliment. Then he recalls the young lady Nasio Yu from his past life, who warmly embraced him when everyone else called him a pig. It was then he fell in love with her, but never dared to confess his feelings, and could not save her from a tragic death. He clears his throat and prays that everything goes smoothly. Thanks to the influence of 2 girls, the squad is gathered and focused. Chi Aomian and the pink-haired girl meditate peacefully, fully devoted to their training. Chi Yongyan stunned everyone by asking to join the external martial arts training. Her competitive spirit was simply shining. When he trains, the growth rate of the young master unrealistically exceeds what it was in his past life, all thanks to the ancient boundless techniques. Beizhong is also making incredible progress. The new cultivation method seems to have given him wings. In Beijing, Guan masters the cultivation method of the Diamond Unbreakable sect, carefully combining internal and external practice. This sect, striving for true unbreakability, forges the body and mind in perfect harmony. But the young master admits such a sect does not exist. In fact, he gave his friend the Shaolin cultivation method and slightly embellished the story. He sits next to his friend, quietly meditating and thinking as long as the motivation and results are good, everything is fine. 2 months have passed. The squad meditates in a clearing, and the young master feels that a great event is about to happen. He recalls that in his past life about 50 liver ghosts suddenly attacked and completely overpowered their forces. The Flying Dragon's Corps, accustomed to fighting only a few opponents at once, suffered a terrible disaster. An entire squad was wiped out. He does not know the exact reason, but remembers since then, everything on the front sharply worsened. But in such a state, he is unable either to warn someone about the future or to prepare for it himself. He sits in meditation, and inside him a great feeling of frustration tears him apart. He knows it will happen any moment, but he can do nothing about it. In another corner of the forest, another squad captain hones his swordsmanship with incredible speed and precision. He grumbles about his popularity among insects, easily slicing the swarm in half. Instead, he dreams of being popular among women, swatting away the insects buzzing near his face. Letting out an irritated murmur, He grits his teeth. The persistent and unwanted attention of the insects has gotten to him. He unleashes a flurry of sword strikes, his movements blurred like a shadow cutting through the air with deadly accuracy. Each cut is impeccably precise, proof of his incredible skill gained through relentless training. The swarm of insects falls to the ground, each one precisely sliced in half by his masterful sword. His squadmates watched in admiration and praised his incredible 70 double-edged sword technique, Dense Rain, a basic skill of his sect. They look admiringly at their captain's skill and wonder how much more incredible the first squad captain must be, the celebrated genius. They compare their captain, called Swift Monkey of Chaos, with the first squad captain Dragon of the Clear Wind Sword and laugh. The captain roars for them to shut up, furiously denying that he is supposedly soulless just because he reached his peak in his 20s. One of the girls teases him, saying that if she likes him so much, then why not start dating the vice captain? The captain shouts that he is also not interested in the vice captain, blushing embarrassedly from their endless teasing. Suddenly his face became serious. He felt that something was approaching. He decisively orders his squad to take a defensive position and warns that a large number of enemies are approaching. As they prepared for battle, one of his subordinates nervously whispered that there seemed to be too many enemies. From behind the trees burst a huge crowd of disgusting liver ghosts with red eyes, rushing at them with frightening speed. The captain instantly rushed into battle with the creatures and, shouting, ordered the vice captain to send a signal for reinforcements. With one powerful strike he cut down several monsters, his face stern and focused. But while he was fighting, he suddenly noticed something that made him freeze in shock and disbelief. He swears when he realizes that these creatures are much more numerous and significantly stronger than he expected, and orders everyone to retreat. At that moment, 3 powerful bursts of energy exploded in the distance, a sign that there are at least 3 mid-level demons here. The warriors desperately run through the forest, trying to break free from the horde of monsters chasing them. One of the squad returns to face the phantom demon charging an attack, preparing to hold it back. The monster is relentlessly focused on its target, and swings a powerful clawed hand without hesitation. Sweat ran down his face, and the young man raised his sword to parry the fierce attack. He manages to dodge the main blow, but the creature's hand still grazes him the sleeve tears. Before he can respond, the demon catches the blade of his sword with its bare hand and instantly stops the weapon. The creature's glowing eyes fixed on him, and he realized the usual tactic dooms both to the same fate. While the monster was distracted, another warrior sneaks up from behind, ready to deliver the decisive strike. He thrusts the sword forward sharply, aiming at the vulnerable back of the creature while it was completely turned away. But his confident expression vanished instantly. Pure shock and disbelief took its place. Without looking back, the monster grabbed the hilt of his sword with the other hand and instantly stopped the attack. The warrior looks around in horror and realizes he is now surrounded by even more phantom monsters. The 6th squad has encountered such a large number of these monsters for the first time. Usual tactics fail, everyone is forced to fight alone against 2 or more phantom monsters. The captain shouts in despair, chaos spreads, and his comrades are quickly overwhelmed. The squad completely falls apart, cries for help echo in the dark forest. These creatures are cruel and merciless. They instantly attack any warrior who lags behind the squad. The captain desperately shouts to his men, "Gather and hold your position." His face is tense with grim determination. He tries to prevent the complete destruction of his squad. While he was intently watching the enemies ahead, suddenly another demon with glowing eyes lunged at him from behind. The creature's face twisted into a distorted smile as it moved in to deliver the final blow. The captain looks back in shock, realizing his mistake too late, and at that moment the monster attacks. He manages to parry with his sword, but the battlefield is grim. His comrades are overwhelmed by the enemy. He lets go of the sword, deciding instead to rely on his fists. He sharply turns and throws a powerful punch, hitting the creature right in the face. With fierce determination, he continues the attack, ignoring the other monsters around. He delivers another powerful blow. The monster recoils, staggering from the unexpected force. The captain finishes it off. The final devastating strike hits the monster's jaw directly. Standing over the fallen creature, he pauses for a moment to catch his breath and gather strength before facing the rest. The force of his attack was so powerful that several nearby enemies were thrown back. They stumbled. He quickly realizes there are still too many enemies, and his squad cannot handle it. Resolutely, to create a breakthrough, he lets out a powerful scream, ready to give the final fight. At that moment, 2 warriors jump down from the trees, shouting the names of their attacks and charging into the assault. Elsewhere, Nasoya and her comrades stand with swords ready, watching the chaos unfold around them. Their eyes are fixed on one figure who fearlessly throws herself right into the midst of the horde. 3 women froze in pure shock. They could not believe their eyes. And 2 friends of the young master, with confident smiles, watched the scene unfold. San Wu Jin is now completely surrounded by shadow demons, but there is not a drop of fear in him. He then rushed to run, throwing the monsters aside. The captain recognizes the newly arrived 7th team, and suddenly realizes their arrival has opened the way for retreat. He instantly turns around and orders his squad to run at full speed while there is a chance. The captain grits his teeth and shouts to the 7th team to retreat. There are simply too many enemies to handle. But the young master's friend reassures the captain, "Don't worry, we have a plan." Smiling broadly, Bisa Yang calls his older brother, "Now it is your turn." The green-haired warrior reluctantly takes out a small knife and makes a cut across his palm. He mutters a curse under his breath. He is annoyed that he is being forced to carry out this crazy plan. Without hesitation for a moment, he swiftly approaches one of the unsuspecting ghostly monsters. In an instant, he smeared the creature's face with his own fresh blood, marking it as a target. He does not stop. He breaks through the horde and splashes several monsters with his blood. The smell of blood throws the creatures into a rage, and their eyes begin to glow with a threatening red light. Now the entire horde was chasing him. He turned around and ran, shouting curses at San Wu Jin. Captain Chi Yan-1 sees that he has enough speed to avoid capture, and his plan seems to be working. He shouted to his squad that other squads would arrive soon, so help the Sith team and destroy several enemies. Feeling new hope, the captain snaps his fingers and announces that he will take command. He rushed forward into the thick of the battle and shouted to his remaining squad to stay close. A brief flash of memory, and before his eyes appears a mighty martial arts master, surrounded by a quietly glowing aura. San Wu Jin recalls his past life and the terrible tragedy that unfolded right in this forest. Those mighty warriors who were present then come to mind. Once he only knew how to encourage those around him. But in this new timeline, he never gave up. He kept fighting to change the future he remembered. And since he returned, he has worked tirelessly every day and encouraged his friends. Today, those small changes that he made step by step finally began to bear fruit. The gap he created was just enough to save his comrades. Now they laughed together with relief. The attack of the Phantom Demon, which was supposed to leave only the captain alive, ended with minimal losses. After a few days, a small group of warriors walks through a forest clearing, heading towards the building. Bisa Yang complains that even his clothes now smell of these disgusting medicines, and jokingly nudges his friend with his elbow. He adds if it weren't for that ointment, the spectators would have rushed to join their training. Sanny Woodson nodded and remarked that lately many people have been watching their outdoor training. Hearing Zhang, Guan eagerly told how they defeated the demons. They realized that their skill was truly strong. But as soon as the spectators see the real exhausting training, most of them quickly decide to leave. But there was one person who was truly interested, and she was eager to overcome the entry barrier. The enthusiastic young man immediately met resistance friends, blocked his way, and did not let him join. The young gentleman only smiles and honestly admits the training does not look pleasant at all. At that moment, a group of women passed by, and the people around immediately recognized them as members of the Dang family. One of the women with luxurious pink hair carries herself with an impressive and refined aura. Another woman, Miss Tan, also instantly draws everyone's attention with her stunning appearance. Tang Yong's beauty is so mesmerizing that it seems the whole world fades away, and she remains the only source of light. One of the spectators admits that although he wants to say his own Nasioyo is the most beautiful, he thinks that to match Tang Yon's appearance, one must be as handsome as the soil of Jiggle. A man approaches the group and introduces himself, Mayong Sayon, deputy leader of the 3rd squad. He admits that until now he thought their exhausting training was just a waste of time. But now he finally understands their efforts were not in vain, and he apologizes for his arrogance. Then he whispered back to San Wu Jin, honestly, he would like to learn physical training from them. When the squad commander called him, he told the young lord that his dear goddess probably would not be pleased. He notes that she is quite clingy and possessive, although she does not look like it, and then says goodbye. The deputy leader was already turning back to leave when San Wu Jin called him by name, and he froze. The young master froze for a moment. A drop of sweat rolled down his face as he barely found the right words. But then he changes his mind, simply wishes him all the best, and hopes that next time they can train together. Mayong Sayon is so brave that he openly admitted he fell in love with Tang Yong, and at the same time, is her deputy, because she is too difficult to approach. He is the effective commander of the 3rd team. But the young master suddenly remembered in his past life, this man died at the hands of the very woman he himself loved. When the blood cult took over her mind, Tang Yun had no choice, she had to kill him. Later he realized that she became a woman of Mayugium, the 4th commander of the squad. In her last moments, Eugene's betrayal pushed her into complete, hopeless despair. Now San Wu Jin understands she is not at all the cold and flawless woman she seemed to be. Bai Shai Yang asks with interest if he is also interested in Tang Yun. He explains that steel spirits will soon appear and he needs her help, but his friend misunderstood everything. Yunabiza teasingly asks if he loves her so much that just talking to her is enough. As soon as the young gentleman looked, his friend shouted that he was in love with Lady Tan. He desperately tries to explain that it's not as it seems, says he just needs to talk to her, but he has no acquaintances. Nasu stands, her face unreadable. She gazes into the chaos unfolding before her. The young gentleman grits his teeth in irritation, realizing that he was completely misunderstood. But that evening, when the sun sets, the squad prepares to set out on a night patrol. The squad commander Sil Pang raises his hand to stop their advance. He senses something in the darkness. He notices it is a chaotic spirit, and the tension in the night patrol instantly rises stepping forward. He explains that the demonic heads of the bloody cult are dangerous even for the strongest masters. Suddenly, a monster jumped out of the darkness, and letting out a terrible scream, launched an attack. But in the squad there is Sil Pang, who easily dodges the attack and swiftly leaps onto the creature's hand. When the situation was resolved, the squad commander calmly stated that there were no more anomalies. But he has one important weakness it immediately shows when the girls from the squad start praising him. Their compliments throw him off balance. He gets confused, and awkwardly tells them to leave. It turns out, the squad leader Sil Pang just can't get along with women more precisely. He is simply afraid of them. The women in his squad smile, knowing if it weren't he for that fear, he would be perfect. San Wujin recalls from a past life the captain stopped being afraid only after they lost someone. To prevent this from happening again, he knows he needs to settle the score with the one responsible. But it all comes down to Jut Zhong, that arrogant man who constantly undermines the captain's authority. Bai Zai Young reminds him that the fight with the green-haired warrior is in 2 weeks, and asks if he can handle it. The young master just smiles and says he is doing everything possible. The captain intervenes and talks about his problem. He has an internal ki eye, and to strengthen it, years are needed. She notes that San Wujin is a strange person, because his mind has already surpassed the 1st grade level. Weiss Young tells his friend, just tell them about my secret plan, they are the only ones who listen. The young master explained that he has an elixir from his father that will increase his ki by about 10 years. The captain guessed correctly. The elixir probably has a purity problem, so he did not take it. But San Wujin himself confirms this. He says that if he had taken it, about half of his entire ki would have become external. The girls from the squad look confused, and understanding nothing, ask what are those men even talking about. Chang Yan explains if the external ki in the elixirs exceeds half of the total, the risk of ki deviation sharply increases. The young master explains that is why he delayed taking the elixir until the last moment. But his original plan was simple: first obtain pure ki using ancient arts, and only then calmly drink the elixir. But now he is confident in his current state he can handle a mid-level 1st-rank opponent. Laughing, Bai Zai Young admits that he had no idea, because he has never used elixirs in his life. The girl with pink hair's eyes shone with excitement, and she joyfully exclaimed that they are in the same boat. His companion blushed and clenched his hand on his chest. Her enthusiasm and closeness clearly threw him off balance. Nasoyu says that he will be busy soon. The fight of San Wujin and the upcoming meeting will not give him peace. He finds it strange he fought on the front lines, but has never heard of such events. He recalls that the meeting in his past life happened on the 13th corpse, and was strangely calm. Biza Yang complains that he is simply nauseated by how the deputy captain sucks up to the leadership during the meeting. He continues they will be told to clean everywhere and turn the whole place upside down. San Wujing looked at his friend anxiously and asked, "Don't you find it strange that the risk of chi deviation is so high?" He writes a scroll, diving with his thoughts into how the demonic sect still remains alive. The young Baikai freezes for a moment, then thoughtfully agrees that his friend has a very sensible opinion. When members of the blood cult mostly steal the ki from others, it creates a dangerous imbalance. The young master presses his palm to his mouth, thoughtfully piecing together the puzzle of their power. His eyes narrow. He wonders how they manage to survive with such a high risk of chi deviation. Meanwhile, in the glade, Jut Zhong trains intensely, and a man with long hair watches him. He let out a powerful scream and rushed forward, his movements focused and filled with strength. With a sharp and precise movement, he thrusts the spear, showing how his combat skill is growing. His attack suddenly stops another man. Mayugium easily catches his leg and praises his progress. The man smiles and says that the warrior with green hair can now undoubtedly call himself higher 1st rank. Jut Jiang thanks him, but he is told not to rejoice just because he did not lose to a weaker opponent. He is ordered to show stunning power worthy of his sect, and the proud warrior willingly agrees. UGM looks at him and thinks that this rookie must finally understand what opportunity he missed. His face darkened, and he swears that San Wujin will pay for the audacity to refuse him. Someone in the room shuddered and whispered, Is it true that inexperienced recruits really defeated that chaos spirit? Then our guy explains that Qiang Yan defeated the demon, and he could do nothing because he was weak. But another says that it was our hero who distracted the creature and saved everyone. Our guy then says he just did as he was told and pierced the monster's mouth. The woman asked how he knew that spirits are weak before light, and the young man smiled and replied, "Lucky." The man with red eyes thinks as if a second-rate warrior is ready to risk his life in a clash with a demon. Seeing the laughter of our hero, the man thought that he had probably searched a lot after all. There is almost nothing about this in public access. Smiling, he decides that there is no more room for hesitation. It is worth training our boy. San Wujing explains knowing about the monster's weakness to light is one thing, but forcing it to open its eyes is quite another. The man with red eyes says, "I like this rookie, I will take him into the 4th squad." At that very moment, our hero desperately exclaims that he will not accept this offer. Another person froze, completely stunned and speechless at the main hero's refusal. He asks if the boy really does not want to join his team, and our hero blushes awkwardly. But our hero got nervous and looked away, not knowing what to answer the man. At that moment, he suddenly turns around and calls Captain Sil Pong, who was sitting and watching everything attentively. The hero says that since the time he studied the front line, he dreamed of joining the squad and begs accept me. But the captain of the 7th squad is completely shocked. He points to himself, not believing what he heard. San Wuding explains that he can destroy monsters even with the scabbard of a sword, using only kicks and punches. Then he smiled and said that since he heard it, he knew he must learn from the captain. The leader of the 4th squad got angry and hotly asked how he dared to refuse him joining the 7th squad. Then he reminds them that our hero is from the famous Sound Wu clan, but wants to join the losers with useless combat skills. Hearing the insult towards his future comrades, the hero clenched his fist tightly. But he ignores the provocation and tells Silpong that he wants to study martial arts to test his body in battle with demons. Hearing this, the captain stands up, grabs our boy by the shoulder, and says that he has an iron character. He says he will train him so that his body surpasses the bodies of demons, and our hero gladly agrees. Seeing that he was completely ignored, the leader of another squad clenched his teeth in anger. With crossed arms, the man looks fiercely. At another moment, he recalled that situation, and just the memory of what happened instantly ignited incredible rage in him. The man addressed Jae Jung and noted how that rookie was doing, saying, "You should have used your influence and lured him away." He then threatened that he would make our hero pay for daring to refuse the son of the sect leader Dian Kang. Dian Kang, the leader's son, angrily declares that he will show the newcomer the power of his sect and leaves. With a smile, Jae Zhang agrees and says they should give our hero a real lesson. He thinks to himself he absolutely does not intend to leave alive the one who offended him. But the rejected leader sharply interrupts him and says, "Don't exaggerate and don't maim the boy." Jae Zhang freezes in shock and asks if he really intended to eliminate his comrade in battle. Stammering, the man says no, but adds that the boy really needs to be taught a lesson. Then the sect leader's son directs his energy to scare the boy. He sternly reminds Jae Zhang that their mission is to fight the blood cult and reclaim the mountain. And that is why they have to cooperate even with despicable people, so they must not attack their direct comrades. The leader says he believes he will not do anything so foolish. But after all this talk, the man is noticeably irritated. Elsewhere, a woman asks someone to look her straight in the eyes. Seeing that San Wujin cannot look her in the eyes, she understands he is not under someone else's control. Two teammates laugh and say that under control it would even be easier for him to get married. Another guy turned red and shouted that he simply does not feel the need to talk to girls. A teammate laughed and asked if he really feels nothing when talking to girls. Then the woman calls the next in line, and the boy in blue noticeably hesitates and does not want to go. They inspect every man in the squad to see if someone has fallen under magical spells. Look at us all, because the 10th body had an incident. One of the members was enchanted and taken captive. From time to time, some people fall under the influence of the blood cult, and this is a big problem. And worst of all, they still do not know how to free people from the mental control of this cult. She asks the young man to look her in the eyes, and he suddenly starts to get very nervous. She persistently explains that he must look her in the eyes and not just glance at her. Smiling, Captain Sealpong asks, where did the courage that he once had disappear to? The boy, who turned red, threw out that this proves he was not enchanted, and asked her what she thought about it. The woman nodded and said if he cannot look her in the eyes, then she believes he is fine. It is enough to look into the eyes as soon as the light fades there. It is clear that someone is controlling the person. This task detecting violations is entrusted to women like Chen Yin. Then the woman announces that now it is Sound Wu's turn to take the test. He blushed, but said that if he wanted, he could do it all day without problems. But one of his comrades laughed and wished him luck, saying, "Let's see how confident our hero really is." Sanwoo feels that this is a rare chance to look her in the eyes, so he decides to carefully examine her face. He then realizes she has a compassionate smile and a face capable of healing any heart. Just from this thought, Sound instantly blushes and starts smoking. The teammates burst out laughing and, unable to resist, asked, "How can a human face blush like that?" The woman only glanced sideways and said that she doesn't even need to look him in the eyes. He seems worse than the squad commander. Sunwoo is in panic and desperately asks her to still check his eyes. Seeing his reaction, she sincerely apologizes for the provocation and asks, "Don't be so hard on yourself." But Woo sounded funny. It was his only chance to look her in the eyes as long as he wanted. And then one of the guys sharply asks the deputy leader, "Did she also check Chung Yin's eyes?" Sanwoo feels that he has never fully seen her face, and she said she has a scar. But even with this excuse, he cannot shake the feeling the girl is still hiding something from him. The deputy leader admits that she has already seen her face and is forced to hide it. Then she explains that if Chung Yin did not hide her face, it would cause incredible turmoil. Sanwoo is embarrassed. Why does the girl with blue hair have to hide her face? Captain Seal Pong warns he heard rumors that this time it might not be just a spider spirit. These creatures feed on blood and become stronger, and what they faced earlier has already devoured 5 people. Then Sanwoo approached 2 girls and curiously asked what they plan to do for the rest of the day. Feeling that the training would be only near the barracks, Arzianvu finally sighs with relief. He suddenly remembered in a past life, the girl with pink hair died around this time. So he sternly warns the 2 girls do not go into dangerous places and be on alert while the leader is far away. She smiled gently, thanked him for his concern, and said not to worry about them. At some point, the group was in the yard when a woman passed by and caught their attention. Our guy recognizes her, the deputy of the 4th squad, Mei Yak Yang. It turns out she is one of those important people whom our hero has been watching for a long time. He recalls that in another timeline she was destroyed by a spider spirit, and this thought troubles him. The deputy leader says she is looking in her squad for someone named San Garing. The main character offers to inform the girl if he finds her, and the woman sincerely thanks him for his help. When she leaves, our hero suddenly remembers that San Harang is Jun's fiancée who died. One of the companions says that San Harang has had constant problems since then, and our hero immediately asks about her fiancé. Another boy says that a little earlier than when ours arrived, he went into battle with 7 misfortunes. They say on the front line this is quite common, you lose love, and soon a new interest appears. Our hero pondered the situation and said with regret, "It's a pity that it is like that there." Suddenly he remembered that in a past life, a girl with pink hair went into the forest to comfort someone, and there she was attacked. The memory was like a scream in the ears. The one who was comforted was named Sankarang, and the danger was real. Seeing despair in our boy's eyes, his teammates anxiously asked what had happened. The main hero feels anxiety and says that he has a bad premonition. We need to find Sun Ho Ran immediately. 3 desperately rush into the forest, and one of the boys asks if they can handle it on their own. Another companion asks if he is afraid, and the boy replies that the forest is very dangerous now. And another says that they can handle a few spirits, and if things go wrong, they will just run away. Without wasting time, our hero rushes through the forest, shouting the name San Harang without stopping. They stop on a branch, and our hero suggests splitting up to thoroughly comb the area. At that very moment, a terrible scream echoed throughout the forest, instantly alerting the entire group. Without hesitating for a second, our hero shouted, "Go!" and rushed toward the sound. Running with a determined expression on his face, our boy realizes something is very wrong. Soon they come across a horde of spirits they have surrounded and are attacking a person lying on the ground in the forest. At that moment, one of the comrades launches his indestructible charge, and with one strike sends the spirits flying. Our hero also throws himself into the fight, beating the creatures with fists and feet to rescue his friends. After the commotion, the 3rd boy landed on a branch while the others dealt with the monsters. With a look full of sorrow, our hero understands he arrived one step too late. He did not manage to save the girl. The 3 find the body of San Herring and regret with horror. If they had been faster, she would have been alive. Our boy wonders how she could have fallen ill so quickly, facing weak spirits. With a serious look, he approaches the body to investigate. Suddenly he notices fang marks on her neck and realizes that a spider spirit was here. At that very moment he cried out in despair for his friend to step away from the body and clear the way. Our hero anxiously warns we need to run, the real spirit of the spider is very close. His face froze in pure panic. He realizes that everything is much worse than he imagined. At that moment 3 of them raise their heads and see a humanoid creature leaning on a tree branch. With a sinister smile and glassy eyes, the spider spirit looks intently at them. Our main hero and his friend froze in shock, not believing their eyes. Is that thing really smiling at them? Then the creature lets out a deafening scream that echoes throughout the forest and frightens the group even more. One of the boys suddenly realizes that the scream is just a lure, and our hero shouts to them run south along road number 3. He starts the countdown, and the 3 prepare to burst into a desperate run for their lives. On the 3rd day they all rush at full speed, trying to escape from the terrifying creature. In an instant the spider spirit was on the Group S trail. The friend shouts in panic that the creature is too fast and asks what they should do. Our guy thinks that if they split up, 2 will manage to escape, and 1 will definitely stay behind. He knows perfectly well if someone falls behind, it will be him the slowest of the 3. At that moment, the strongest of the comrades stops running, halts, and shouts to the others to run while he distracts the monster. With a smile, he asks his friends to survive instead of him, and under no circumstances to die. Our hero is completely stunned. His friend in a past life did exactly the same. He remembers how his comrade told him to go, smiling with the same smile that now plays on his face. Our hero clenched his teeth and forced himself to calm down and think logically about what was happening. Our hero thinks that the spirits have caught up with them, and that none of the 3 will get out of there alive. He smiles, accepts the situation, and feels that at this moment he will have to make a difficult decision. Then he tells his stronger friend that they will leave the smaller spirits to him, let him deal with them himself. But our hero turns to the other guy and confidently says that he will take care of the spider spirit himself. The stronger partner simply froze and cannot utter a word because of our guy's attitude. Then he shouted to his friend, "Run and bring the squad commander before he leaves this place." Then the spirits advance with terrible smiles. A stronger friend tries to fight back, but soon the creatures surround him from all sides. Even in trouble, he shouts to his comrade, "Run, save our hero at any cost." Seeing his friends sacrifice themselves, the boy cannot hold back tears of despair and sadness. He rushed to run and shouted that they must not die. He will follow them to hell itself if necessary. Our hero calls him an idiot and says he will never forgive him if he leaves for such a stupid reason. His sword flickers purple. Our hero prepares to confront the spider spirit.